Hi people, Morinore from Rock here again. In this video I will be discussing, or better said I shall be discussing, the difference between mainstream religions and paganism or general esoterica. Why people are more inclined to the latter rather than the former, and how practical they are and related. I also wrote an article on this, by the way. I wrote an article on this, so you're welcome to check out the article, although it does say, as is usually the case, it says the same thing more or less that I am saying in this video, or I will be saying in this video. Yeah, so let's start off with mainstream religion. Under mainstream religion, notable examples are Christianity, Islam. Mainstream religion, under what the average person understands, is what the average person's notion is of mainstream religion. It's a religion where you go to a church or a chapel, in any case a house of prayer, and you pray to whatever deity you pray to. Also notable is that mainstream religions in general are monotheistic, so that means that there is one supreme entity that its followers worship. For example, in Christianity's case, the Christian God; in Islam's case, the Prophet Muhammad, and it just goes on and on and on. Whereas with the latter, in esoterica and paganism, it's polytheistic. That means that you've got a whole subset of deities that are followed or worshipped, you name it, regardless of rank, God-wise or deity-wise. But yeah, in relation to mainstream religion, these are notable examples. For example, Christians, as well as every sub-branch of Christianity, loosely said, like Mormonism. Again, this is just a loose definition. I'm not 100% sure on whether Mormons are actually Christians, but as far as I know, they are. But that's why I said, for example, Christianity sub-religions, the sub-religions of Christianity, and their side branches, if you will, like Mormonism, Jehovah's Witnesses, and it just goes on. Okay. For all of these, it's the same thing. Okay, Judaism is another example of a mainstream religion, and it just goes on and on and on. Okay, for these people, the definition of being religious is try to live by their version of the quote-unquote good book, to try to adhere to what they're being taught as much as possible, and to attend as many congregational meetings as possible, and to basically do it as is expected of you, and in return you will get eternal salvation after passing on from the material life. So basically after death, their version is that they'll go to heaven, they'll go to paradise, and then they'll get all the good things that they're entitled to, so to speak. But in terms of practicality and being genuine, yeah, mainstream religion is pretty much an offense. The reasons why, I'm going to mention that, and I'm going to read from my article. Yeah, mainstream first. Why does the average person in general not go to church regardless of religion? Because, quote unquote, it doesn't work. The religion doesn't offer any progress in one's life, let alone salvation. Going to church and praying doesn't improve one's life and shows no real benefit. This is a figure of speech, since reportedly the majority of mankind is religiously affiliated. Yeah, while looking that up, while doing the research, I think I saw that around 85 to 86% of mankind is religious, according to statistical numbers, if you were to look them up. And under 20% of mankind is irreligious, so people that don't follow a religion. So a little over 10%. This is plain and simply because the majority of mainstream religious establishments are largely nothing more than corporations intent on power through religious indoctrination under the guise of salvation. They don't care about spiritual guidance. All true, okay? Are mainstream religions in general practical? No, not really. If you're looking for results, no. Before I became an occultist, I am traditionally and conventionally baptized Roman Catholic. So I'm a Christian. I'm obviously still a Christian. The only difference is that I am a real Christian. Whereas beforehand, I did the same thing. My family was also, especially my family from my father's side, was Roman Catholic, and I was baptized in the same fashion. I still remember the church where I was baptized, and the picture that was taken of me when I was baptized when I was just a baby, blah blah blah. And how should I put this? I just went to church as a good boy, the way my father pretty much commanded me to, blah blah blah, etc. etc. But when I became a teenager, I just let go of the entire idea. And not just that, because as a child, we're talking about, I was 8-9 years old. But from the ages 12 and up, I was like, nope, I'm not setting foot in church. You can't make me. You can say or do whatever you want. And it's not going to happen. I despise the church. And I mentioned a couple of, miscellaneous reasons, as in, the church things are way too hard. The benches that you have to sit on are way too hard and way too rigid. And I have to sit there, listen to a preacher go on and on about the glory of God and all that crap when it has no real practical merit, not to me. Okay, because I'm not seeing a difference in my life. Life isn't going better. I had all of this clarity of mind, of course, even as a teenager, coming into my own. But this is what the average person thinks, regardless of age or gender or any other attribute. We're talking about, it's just that mainstream religion, the example of which I mentioned, it literally has no practical benefit. As in, you can't benefit from it. It doesn't offer any benefit to you whatsoever. Okay, maybe on occasion, figuratively speaking, caressing your ego and so on, in the sense of you actually falling into the delusion that you're a good person because you go to church and that you're going to go to heaven when you die. But yeah, it couldn't be further from the truth. It's just a delusion, period. Okay, has nothing to do with facts and reality. So yeah, that's why I refused to go to church, and my parents knew that, if I said that, then there was no way in hell that they were going to make up their mind. No way. So they just left it completely. And yeah, that's why, plain and simply. Those are the basic reasons for why people that are irreligious in general, why they don't follow any religion. If you'll ask them, they'll openly tell you, listen, I'm not seeing any improvement in my life. Even if I go to church, even if I follow a religion, I'm not seeing any improvement. It doesn't matter what I am, whether I'm a Christian, whether I'm a Muslim, it does not matter. Whether I'm Jewish, I'm not seeing any improvement in my life. People would be a big fan of the church if you actually went to a church or a mosque, whatever. If you were the follower of a mainstream religion, and if you prayed to your God, and you actually saw results, as in, hey, I'm doing better, I'm making more money, life is better, I'm feeling healthy, I noticed that I'm improving more, my focus is improving, mental health is improving. That's the stuff that has practical value, and that's what people want. But that you're not getting that at all. And again, the reason is, as I mentioned, most mainstream religions, I'm going to be blunt, are a sham. They're a scam. All of them. Christianity, Islam, all of them, okay? They are only, let's just say the leaders of the global leaders of these religions, these mainstream religions, and all of their subservient or subset-like religions, only care about one thing: power and control. Whether it's control through wealth, through financial resource, doesn't matter. They just want power, and they want power via indoctrination, by basically turning the masses of people out there into sheep that will do whatever they say, regardless of how absurd it is, regardless of what they do. No. It's just plain and simply being indoctrinated. It's plain and simple indoctrination. And unsurprisingly, this is what mainstream religion has done for a good portion of mankind's history. Even dating back to medieval times, it was the same thing, and people were more blunt back then. They were a lot more straightforward and a lot more barbaric in nature, since human rights back then were not really a thing, as in there were little to none. So if you spoke against the church, you were automatically called a sinner, and you would either be hanged or hung, drawn, and quartered, or some horrible fate would befall you. You'd be persecuted simply for not saying something as simple as believing in God or not siding with the church, you name it. The church in that time was like a monarch, okay? It demanded absolute, mainstream religion was more monarchic in that reason. It demanded absolute and fathomable and unquestionable devotion from its followers, regardless of what it said or did, how absurd it was. I think in medieval times you could even, a priest could come by and easily tell, hey, listen, give me your daughter, I want her in the name of God, and yeah, it would happen. It would still happen. It's despicable, of course, when you just think about it, but yeah. And yeah, those are the reasons in any case, okay? So to just sum up, the impracticality of mainstream religion, the fact that that they're nothing but establishments in general that care about indoctrinating the masses, and it's working, of course, otherwise the majority of mankind would not officially classify themselves as belonging to a mainstream religion. Either that or the statistics are wrong or they're skewed, and as in there's some kind of miscommunication, because honestly, if someone asks me what you are, a survey wise, I'd openly tell them I'm Christian, but their understanding of being Christian and my understanding are two different things entirely. I'm not Christian according to their context. And yeah, let's see what else. And yeah, simply partaking in mainstream religion offers no benefit that would, generally speaking, would be expected, even demanded. Okay, so basically it's simply misleading. It's like a misleading advertisement. You're advertising a luxurious apartment, a studio apartment or a loft, and when I go there, it's a rundown piece of crap. End of story. And you basically only took one picture of a wall and you edited it with Photoshop. It's misleading, and to make it look as if it's brand new, it just goes on. And in reality, it's vastly different. These are basic marketing strategies. It's the same thing with mainstream religion. Mainstream religion basically says, come to me and I will give you salvation. I will take care of all of your burdens. Everything will be fine, and all of your problems are going to disappear, and I'm going to help you with everything that you have in your life, every issue you have, and in return I simply expect your devotion and you following me, or better said, you following our God. But in reality, nothing's going to come of it. The only thing that they'll be taking from you is your energy and time and your money to a lesser extent. Okay, for every sermon you attend or every religious congregationary gathering that you attend, and you're not getting anything out of it, honestly. And the second that you actually start to challenge their beliefs, as in asking your main preacher or the preacher of your main pastor or whomever is seen as is in charge or being in charge, he's going to give you some political bullshit answer along the lines of, you need to wait, my child, okay, or God works in mysterious ways, or some other cockamamie excuse that obviously holds no water or holds no ground. And yeah, let's move on to paganism, or simply esoterica. Why do people that want to become genuinely religious lean more and more towards paganism, or better said, people that want help of an esoteric nature? The last thing someone like that would do, generally speaking, is seek out help from the aforementioned, so mainstream religion, because of its practical value. People want results, period. Results which paganism, at least sometimes or partially, provides. Results that are of a practical nature, e.g. money, health, etc. Also good to note that a good deal of history's empires or civilizations followed esotericism rather than textbook religion. And which one is better? Obviously esotericism or paganism is better than mainstream religion. Yeah. I did a little background research, and it turns out that paganism is on the rise. And yeah, the reasons for why that is happening, pagan communities or paganistic communities that are reverting back to the ways of the old or the old ways. The reason that they do so is for the reasons I mentioned. It's practical. Someone that needs help of an esoteric nature, plain and simple example, someone that is suffering from some kind of illness, or someone that has financial problems in his or her life, and knows that he or she can't solve his problems himself or herself, and is inclined to ask for help of an esoteric nature. Do you really think that someone like that is actually going to go to a church and say, hey, listen, preacher, I want help, for example. I'm renting a house out, I'm leasing a house to someone, and the tenant refuses to leave. The tenant doesn't pay rent, he hasn't paid rent in over 3 or 4 months, and according to local laws, I simply can't remove him, otherwise it would be a lengthy court battle, and it would cost me a lot more money than I could stand to gain back from that tenant in rent, even with additional fees. So I simply want him out of my house. I've tried everything, but he still refuses to leave. What can I do? Can God help me remove him out of my house? No, no one's gonna, no. No one. What people do in these kind of cases, will a practical solution is asked. People resort to esoterica, they resort to magic, and paganism is one of them. They'll either seek out a local shaman or someone like me that offers esoteric services for hire, or services of an esoteric or occult nature, as in, hey, this person has this issue, what can we do, what can be done? And the person can say, okay, I can cast a spell on him, which will give that person nightmares, or I can simply make a series of misfortunes occur, which will see to it that that person is driven out of that house by force, and that's all. That's a practical solution. That's why people are more leaning towards those kind of things. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You would never engage or invest yourself in something that has no practical benefit to you. No, you're going to invest your time and effort in something that at the very least has the potential of offering a practical benefit. And it's also unsurprising that a good deal of civilizations in mankind's history, we're talking about some of the best civilizations that reach pretty much the pinnacle of mankind's existence, like the Romans, for example, were paganistic up to a certain point, of course, arguably. But bottom line is that they were pagan. The Greeks were pagan, Egyptians were pagans, the Norse were pagans. Every civilization that has pretty much stretched its wings and has made a profound impact on mankind was pagan. The Sumerians were pagan, the Babylonians were pagan, and all of them, had their own set of gods that are in essence thought forms, just self-created spirits that they had no idea that they were creating themselves. They were simply primitive civilizations, and they attributed, everything that they couldn't explain more or less to, or every aspect of life to a higher power, as in, it's lightning. There has to be a god that's responsible for lightning and thunder and the weather, whether it's good or bad. We need the sun to survive. There has to be a god that rules over the sun. There has to be a being that sees to sunlight and that sees to the rising and setting of the sun, as well as every other aspect of life, God of love, God of passion, sex, you name it. That's how all these gods came into being. God of war, all of those things. These were aspects of life, and these people, as primitive as they were back then, they simply needed a rational way to explain things that were beyond their comprehension, or things that were simply beyond their level of understanding. And boom. That's how they came into being. The spirits that a lot of people work with, paganistic spirits, or spirits that are pagan gods and pagan goddesses, and it's so on. Belphegor is an example. It just goes on and on and on. Some of these have even been demonized, as most of you might know, when Christianity, or when Christian forces overthrew a lot of these pagan cultures. They were basically absorbed into the Christian kingdom, and at the church, in an effort. Christianity is just an example here. This is no personal attack on Christianity. Like I said, I myself am a devout Christian, but I'm an actual Christian, a real Christian, even if I say so myself. They, in an effort to dissuade these people from continuing to worship their old gods, they simply demonize them, as in tainting and tarnishing the names of these spirits and telling them that, hey, listen, the spirits that you work with, these guys are really bad. Do not follow them. You will be led astray, and things are not going to end up well for you. Despite the fact that despite the fact that in general, you had good results with that god, it doesn't matter. They simply played on morality. Like I said, indoctrination. Okay, people were easier to persuade, especially back in the day. Without little information available in the world, it's only a matter of how charming someone is and how convincing someone can make something come off. Even nowadays, it still applies. So imagine back then. I mean, if I'm charming enough and I'm convincing enough, I really seriously want to convince someone of something, I want to influence someone, Generally speaking, I can get it done without any occult factor or any magic necessary. None of that. I can literally just influence someone by talking to that person, basically buttering him or her up. And yeah, before you know it, yeah. It all depends on how susceptible that person is too, of course. But in general, yeah. So yeah, and yeah, the majority of pagan cultures, these civilizations too, they were polytheistic, like I said, they had multiple gods, etc., as opposed to mainstream religion only having one god. So if you compare the two, it's obvious which one is the better, honestly, in terms of obtaining practical results and just overall practical usage, which is obviously esoterica or paganism, whatever you want to call it. Of course, I know that there is a difference between the two, but within the context of this topic, I am linking the two together. So I'm talking about anything that is in mainstream religion, okay? Any kind of religion that you practice, where you either perform rituals, whatever that ritual may be, whether it's praying or whatever you do, it is practical, okay, in the sense that it gives you the results that you're looking for at the very least on occasion, and you're actually seeing viable results. These things are, that is what in my context here, the context of this top subject that I'm discussing, this very subject that I'm discussing, that's what I call paganism or esoterica, just for the sake of conversation. In reality, there's obviously a difference between the two, but you get the gist, you know what I mean. Okay, that's why people don't follow mainstream religion, because that's the reason I, as a child, the second I became self-aware, I immediately started loading mainstream religion. Aside from that, also hypocrisy. I thought to myself, wow, look at the things that people that go to church do. These people claim to love God and everything, and yet look at the nonsense they do. These people commit adultery, they gossip behind each other's backs, they're greedy, all they care about is money. They commit the most atrocious of acts, and it's all a sham. Okay, all of it, honestly. Again, I care about actual results, but nah, you're not getting any results in such a fashion. What do you expect? I mean, you're not going to get any results. That obviously means that you're not doing it right. Mainstream religion isn't doing it right. That's what it's all about. Whereas, that's why a lot more people, that's why you've also got a pagan resurgence in the world. A lot of people are reverting back to, Druidism and paganism and living the way that their ancestors lived long ago, centuries ago. Because, they can actually see results. They can actually see viable and explainable results within that context. But, but for the rest, nah, you're not getting anything from mainstream religion. The reason that mainstream religion still has the majority of followers just goes to show you how sheepish mankind is en masse, how easy it is to influence people, like I said before, just now, and how easy it is to literally just have people, even up to this day, how easy it is to indoctrinate people. So back in the day, it was even worse, arguably, okay? People back in the day, compared by today's standards, since we have all the information at our fingertips pretty much, it was a nightmare. It was just horrible. End of story. People were dumb as nails, pretty much. So yeah, you could tell them anything they want. You could tell them that you could literally just take a frog and tell them that, hey, listen, this frog is your God. Pray to this frog nowadays. This frog is Jesus reincarnated, and they believe you, as long as you could make it come off as convincingly as possible, and otherwise. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Even like I said, even nowadays you can do it, but still, it's you can do it even up to this day, but to a significantly lesser extent. You'd have to put in a lot more effort, or you'd have to find someone that's ridiculously stupid, some dunderhead or airhead. And last but not least, I also need to mention that pagan cults, for example, are different. Pagan cults are an exception to this subject, because in essence, pagan cults have nothing to do really with religion. It's the same. These pagan cults they're just using the phrase pagan in the same context as mainstream religion under the guise of their pagan religion. So they're no different. Okay, I'm pretty sure that most of you have heard of pagan cults where where members were abused. For example, a pagan cult where a man declares himself Jesus reincarnated or something and demands or commands the female members of his cult to have sex with him and to perform favors and to hand over all their material possessions to him. That has nothing to do with religion. We're talking about genuine religion. That has nothing to do with genuine esoterica. This leader, this religious leader, is just using the phrase religion or the phrase paganism or esoterica as a smokescreen for taking advantage of unsuspecting and unwitting individuals. Oh yeah, unfortunately stuff like that does happen. And let's see, for the rest I have nothing else to mention pretty much. So yeah, that's the difference, okay? I mean, I'm a true Christian, like I said, and I get the results from my religion. I actually practice my religion, and my religion actually shows me results. The majority of you, most of you that know me long enough, are well aware of this. Okay, for me, I can actually see results. I'm living results. Okay, that hey, I'm actually seeing what is happening and what I'm doing, and what the spirits that I engage with or in, and the forces that I occupy myself with actually provide results. And even if there is no result, then it's due to some kind of outside or exterior factor. It's due to some factor that lies outside their influence or similar or likewise. Bottom line is that in general, they show results and they provide results. My religion actually provides me with results. I am a follower of a religion as a Christian, and as a Christian, I'm getting actual results. My quality of life is actually improving like no other and has improved. That's all. Thanks. Bye.